Today we're diving into the delicious world of vintage cooking. We're going back in time with 8 lunch recipes Grandma made that are too good to forget. These recipes span from the 1930s through the 1980s, a time when homemade meals were crafted with love and simplicity. So whether you're a baby boomer, a member of Gen X, or just a fan of nostalgic cooking, this video is for you. Number 1. Depression-era savvy. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, food scarcity was a pressing issue for millions of Americans. Families had to get creative to stretch limited ingredients into meals that could sustain them. What made Depression-era cooking so unique was the necessity-driven ingenuity that turned simple, inexpensive ingredients into something filling and comforting. One standout dish from this period is potato soup, which became a staple for many due to its affordability and ease of preparation. Potatoes were one of the most accessible and affordable ingredients during this time. They could be stored for long periods without refrigeration, making them an essential part of the Depression-era pantry. Potato soup, often made with just a few ingredients like onions, butter, milk, and water, was a prime example of a dish that could stretch to feed large families. The key to making this simple meal delicious was the slow cooking method, which allowed the potatoes to break down and release their starches, creating a creamy texture without the need for heavy cream or fancy seasonings. Another hallmark of 1930s cooking was the use of every part of available ingredients. In many potato soup recipes, even the peelings of the potatoes would be saved and used for other dishes like broths or fried crisps, ensuring that nothing went to waste. Onions, another cheap and widely available ingredient, were often used to add depth and flavor to the soup, as spices were either too expensive or hard to come by. Butter, if it could be afforded, was added for richness, but margarine or even lard were often used as substitutes. What made Depression-era potato soup stand out was its adaptability. If a family had access to other ingredients like ham bones, carrots, or celery, these could be added to the soup to enhance its flavor. But even at its most basic, the soup was a reminder of the resourcefulness that defined the cooking of the time. The slow cooking process not only brought out the richness of the potatoes, but also allowed the soup to be made in large batches, which could be reheated and eaten over several days, further stretching the meal for families in need. Milk was often used in potato soup recipes, but for families that couldn't afford it, water or evaporated milk became common substitutes. Some families even thinned out the milk with water to make it last longer, a tactic that was emblematic of the careful planning and frugality required in 1930s kitchens. Bread was another essential component of this meal, as it was often served on the side to make the meal more substantial. For many, this simple dish wasn't just about nourishment. It also carried emotional significance. The act of cooking together and sharing a meal, no matter how basic, became a form of comfort during a time of economic hardship. Families relied on these comforting, filling dishes to bring a sense of stability and warmth to their homes. Potato soup, with its rich, creamy texture and simple ingredients, was a perfect example of how even the humblest of meals could provide both sustenance and solace. Number 2. Wartime innovation. In the 1940s, the impact of World War II was deeply felt in American kitchens. Food rationing was in full swing, and key ingredients like sugar, butter, meat, and canned goods were limited. This scarcity forced home cooks to be inventive with their meals, leading to the rise of unique recipes that utilized what was readily available. One prominent example was the use of victory gardens. Citizens were encouraged to grow their own vegetables to supplement their food supply, resulting in fresh, homegrown produce becoming the centerpiece of many meals. These gardens not only provided essential nutrients, but also fostered a sense of community and self-sufficiency. Given the emphasis on fresh vegetables, dishes like Victory Garden sandwiches emerged as a lunchtime favorite. These sandwiches often featured a medley of fresh produce, such as tomatoes, cucumbers, and leafy greens, sometimes mixed with simple spreads made from mayonnaise and herbs. Since mayonnaise was an item that could be stretched further than butter or meat, it became a staple in many households. Homemade versions using oil, egg yolks, and vinegar were also common due to the unavailability of store-bought versions. The importance of waste reduction during this era also influenced wartime recipes. For example, bread heels and stale loaves were repurposed into bread puddings, sandwiches, and breadcrumbs, ensuring nothing went to waste. Families often baked their own bread as it required fewer rationed ingredients than buying processed loaves. In fact, the notion of meatless meals became normalized. Legumes, beans, and vegetables became primary protein sources, leading to the invention of vegetable-based dishes that were hearty, yet frugal. For instance, vegetable loaves, a blend of grated vegetables, breadcrumbs, and oats, became a common meat substitute that was both nutritious and filling. Moreover, powdered milk and powdered eggs were introduced to replace fresh dairy and eggs. These substitutes were crucial in maintaining the nutritional value of meals when fresh produce was not available. Many recipes adapted to include these powdered alternatives, ensuring that families could still enjoy foods like custards, sauces, and even baked goods without using up their rationed fresh supplies. The result was a variety of meals that were simple, adaptable, and relied heavily on seasonal produce, ingenuity, and the community effort of growing and sharing food resources. Number 3, post-war comforts. In the 1950s, American cuisine experienced a revival centered around comfort and convenience. The post-war era brought technological advances into the kitchen, like electric ovens and refrigerators, making meal preparation more efficient. This allowed homemakers to focus on hearty dishes that celebrated abundance and family togetherness. Meatloaf became a staple during this time, often made with a mixture of ground beef, pork, or even veal for added flavor and texture. What set 1950s meatloaf apart was the use of pantry staples like crushed saltine crackers or oatmeal as a binder, which helped stretch the meat further while adding a unique texture. Ketchup wasn't the only topping used. Some recipes called for a mixture of brown sugar, mustard, and Worcestershire sauce, creating a glaze that caramelized beautifully in the oven. Others incorporated cheese into the loaf, either mixed into the meat or layered in the center for a gooey surprise when sliced. Leftovers were rarely wasted. Cold slices of meatloaf were often served between slices of white bread with a smear of mayonnaise or mustard, making it a versatile meal that could easily transform into a next-day lunch. Casseroles also rose in popularity, with meatloaf-inspired variations incorporating vegetables and rice or noodles, allowing families to enjoy the flavors in different forms. The 1950s was also a time when canned soups like cream of mushroom or tomato soup were mixed into meatloaf recipes to keep the dish moist and enhance its flavor, reflecting the decade's love for convenient yet hearty meals. Meatloaf, with its various adaptations, represented more than just food. It was a symbol of the era's optimism, the joy of family gatherings, and the comfort found in the simple pleasures of home-cooked meals. Number 4. Convenience meets flavor. The 1960s marked a transformative era in American kitchens as convenience foods became more integrated into daily life. The rise of prepackaged foods, such as canned soups and instant noodles, aligned with the decade's growing demand for quick yet satisfying meals. Tuna noodle casserole became an iconic dish of this era, combining the practicality of convenience foods with the comfort of a homemade meal. Its key ingredients, canned tuna, egg noodles, and cream of mushroom soup, were pantry staples that embodied the era's focus on affordability and simplicity. This dish wasn't just about ease, it was about creating a nourishing meal that could feed a family on a budget. The recipe often included frozen peas or mixed vegetables, adding both color and nutrition, while the creamy base provided a rich texture that contrasted with the crunchy breadcrumb topping. Many variations of the casserole included additional elements such as grated cheese or even crushed potato chips on top, enhancing its flavor and adding a playful crunch. The use of cream of mushroom soup was a game changer. Its thick consistency and savory taste allowed it to act as both a sauce and a binder, bringing the dish together with minimal effort. Another aspect of the 1960s convenience craze was the introduction of electric appliances like slow cookers and electric can openers, which made assembling dishes like tuna noodle casserole even easier. Housewives could prepare the casserole in advance, pop it in the oven, and have a warm, hearty lunch ready in under an hour. Leftovers could easily be reheated or repurposed into other meals, aligning with the decade's ethos of reducing waste and maximizing resources. The casserole's adaptability made it a versatile dish, embodying the blend of convenience, economy, and homely flavor that defined 1960s American cooking. Number 5. Colorful and creative. The 1970s were a time of bold experimentation in the kitchen, with home cooks eager to explore vibrant and unconventional dishes. Jell-O salads became emblematic of this era, blending the familiar with the unexpected. These gelatin-based salads were not just limited to lime Jell-O and fruit. They often featured a kaleidoscope of colors and ingredients. One popular variation included the use of different Jell-O flavors, like orange or strawberry, mixed with ingredients like shredded carrots, diced celery, and even olives, resulting in a salad that was as much about texture as it was about taste. This mix of sweet and savory showcased the decade's fascination with blending flavors in new ways. Another intriguing aspect of 1970s Jell-O salads was their presentation. Molded into elaborate shapes using decorative molds, they were often the centerpiece of the lunch table, offering a playful visual appeal that mirrored the decade's colorful aesthetic. Cottage cheese was a frequent addition, providing a creamy contrast to the firm, wobbly Jell-O. The inclusion of canned fruits like pineapple chunks or mandarin oranges added sweetness and juiciness, while ingredients like mini marshmallows or crushed nut were sometimes thrown in for an extra layer of surprise. The result was a dish that straddled the line between a dessert and a salad, challenging traditional notions of what a lunch side could be. The popularity of Jell-O salads in the 1970s also reflected a broader cultural shift towards convenience and fun in cooking. The instant gelatin mix allowed for quick preparation and creativity, enabling home cooks to experiment with combinations of flavors and textures without extensive cooking skills. These salads often made appearances at potlucks, picnics, and holiday gatherings, where their vibrant colors and quirky ingredient lists made them conversation starters. The flexibility of the dish meant it could be easily adapted to suit different tastes, whether by adding a dash of vinegar for a tangy note or incorporating seafood like shrimp for a more savory variation. Jell-O salads captured the essence of 1970s culinary daring, offering a blend of nostalgia, whimsy, and a distinctively playful approach to the midday meal. Number 6, hearty and healthy. In the 1980s, a shift toward health-conscious eating began to redefine lunch options, focusing on a balance of indulgence and nutritional value. Quiche Lorraine, a dish with origins in French cuisine, became a symbol of this trend. It combined the richness of eggs, cream, and cheese with the protein of bacon or ham, encased in a delicate, flaky pastry crust. This savory pie was often enhanced with vegetables like spinach, mushrooms, or leeks, adding both flavor and a healthy component to the dish. Whole wheat crusts were sometimes used to boost the fiber content, reflecting the era's growing emphasis on whole grains and complex carbohydrates. Quiche Lorraine was versatile, making it a suitable choice for various occasions. It could be baked in advance and served warm or cold, fitting seamlessly into busy lifestyles. The rise of brunch culture in the 1980s further popularized quiche as a midday meal. Its blend of protein, fats, and carbohydrates made it satisfying yet not overly heavy, aligning with the decade's preference for meals that could be both hearty and balanced. The inclusion of ingredients like Gruyere or Swiss cheese elevated the dish, giving it a gourmet appeal that matched the increasingly sophisticated palate of home cooks and diners during this time. In addition to its taste, quiche Lorraine was seen as a somewhat luxurious dish that also catered to the new trend of lighter eating. The emphasis was often on using fresh ingredients, such as farm-fresh eggs and organic vegetables, as the farm-to-table movement started gaining momentum. Many variations reduced the cream and cheese content, substituting milk or yogurt to lower the fat without sacrificing flavor. This adaptability allowed the dish to fit into various dietary preferences, including the emerging low-fat and low-cholesterol diets of the time. Quiche Lorraine encapsulated the 1980s culinary ethos, enjoyable, versatile, and with a nod to health consciousness. Number 7, regional delights. Southern fried chicken is more than just a dish. It's a cultural icon in American cuisine, particularly in the South. The process starts with the chicken being soaked in a buttermilk brine, which tenderizes the meat and infuses it with flavor. This step is crucial, as it helps the chicken remain juicy during frying. Seasoning varies widely from family to family, often including a mix of salt, black pepper, paprika, garlic powder, and sometimes a hint of cayenne for heat. The seasoned flour coating, typically made with a blend of flour and cornmeal or breadcrumbs, creates the crispy exterior that Southern fried chicken is famous for. Some cooks add baking powder to the flour mixture to achieve a lighter, puffier crust. The frying technique is another defining aspect. Traditionally, cast iron skillets were used for frying because they provide consistent heat and retain it well. The chicken is fried in hot oil, often a mix of lard and vegetable oil, at a precise temperature to ensure it cooks evenly, golden and crispy on the outside, while fully cooked and tender inside. Achieving the right balance of crispness without burning the coating requires careful attention to timing and temperature control, a skill passed down through generations. Accompaniments to Southern fried chicken are as much a part of the experience as the chicken itself. Classic sides include coleslaw, which provides a cool, tangy contrast to the richness of the fried chicken, and fluffy buttermilk biscuits, perfect for sopping up any leftover juices. In some regions, fried chicken is served with a drizzle of honey or hot sauce, adding an extra layer of flavor that complements the savory crunch. This dish was often reserved for special occasions like Sunday lunches, family reunions, and holidays, cementing its status as a meal that brings people together. Each family's version carries its unique touch, whether through a secret spice blend, the use of an heirloom cast iron skillet, or a cherished memory of learning the recipe in a grandmother's kitchen. Number 8, sweet endings. The peanut butter and jelly PB&J sandwich has deep roots in American culinary history, evolving from a simple combination into a cultural staple. The concept of peanut butter dates back to the early 20th century when it was considered a luxury food item. By the 1940s, due to its affordability and nutritional value, peanut butter became a household staple, especially during World War II. Paired with fruit preserves, which were used as a natural sweetener, PB&J emerged as an ideal, cost-effective lunch option. It provided a balanced mix of protein, fat, and carbohydrates, making it a filling meal for children and adults alike. The versatility of the PB&J sandwich allowed it to adapt to different tastes and dietary needs. While white bread was the classic choice, whole wheat, rye, and even gluten-free bread variations expanded its appeal. Peanut butter itself could be creamy or chunky, catering to different textures. Jelly evolved into a variety of flavors beyond grape, with strawberry, raspberry, and even apricot preserves becoming popular alternatives. Some variations include adding sliced bananas, honey, or a sprinkle of cinnamon to enhance the flavor profile. The simplicity of the PB&J also made it a favorite for outdoor activities like picnics, hiking, and school lunches. Its ingredients are shelf-stable, reducing the risk of spoilage, and it requires no refrigeration, making it convenient for packed lunches. The sandwich became synonymous with comfort food, often bringing back memories of childhood for many adults. Its nutritional benefits, especially when made with whole grain bread and natural peanut butter, have also been highlighted in modern dietary discussions, emphasizing healthy fats, fiber, and protein content. In recent years, gourmet versions of the PB&J have surfaced, using artisanal bread, organic nut butters, and specialty jams, showcasing its enduring appeal while adapting to contemporary food trends.